All right. Hello and happy Monday to everyone. The coronavirus lockdown, quarantine, whatever the correct terminology is, it's been a part of our lives for a solid week now. So I've got two things I wanted to share as a result of my weekend, and one's a positive thing that I think is just really important to share, and it happened at Mass on Sunday, so I think I just wanted to get it out on video while I could. And the other thing is just a little bit of a priestly rant. I think I'm allowed one of those every once in a while, and I'm going to start there because I like ending on a high note. So the complainy portion of this video is, like many of you, I have just been glued to my news feed on my phone. If I'm in a position where I'm waiting for more than 20 seconds, I feel a real desire to check my phone and check the news. And of course, 85% of it's a coronavirus stuff. So I read one article. It was an intriguing title. It was 15 ways the coronavirus is going to change us forever. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I read it, and some of it was perfectly reasonable on just kind of the way politics are shaping up and all of that. But there were a couple of things in that article that really annoyed me. And it's this mania, this panic, and just kind of that exaggeration, which I think is just way too prevalent in journalism today. Basically, I can sum it up with 2 out of 15 things they were saying. One thing which just angered me was they were saying that because of all of this business with the coronavirus, like we're going to be a people that are fussy about touching other people from now on. We're not going to be shaking hands anymore. We're going to feel uncomfortable being closer than 6 feet from one another. And it actually went as far as to say that we're going to be a people where we no longer feel safe around other people. We're going to feel safe when we're in isolation. We're going to feel safe when we're alone. And I hands down disagree with that. That is not progress. That's regression. That's paranoia. That's fear. And the other thing that I just really flatly agreed with was that because of this, we're going to be even more dependent than we were before on the internet for our social needs. Like, hey, the internet is way better than meeting people in real life. Again, I very strongly disagree with that. And I sat back and I thought about these 15 things, these 15 predictions, with those two at the forefront of my awareness. And I can pinpoint now that I had a chance to decompress my thoughts on the article. Here's what I disagree with. Those two things, those two predictions are absolutely what's going to happen. And all the other things that it was written about, all of them will happen if we as a society are motivated by fear above all else. If, because of the coronavirus, we naturally act on fear more than any other emotion or position or anything like that, if it's fear that rules us, that is exactly what will happen. We will plummet more and more into social media and the internet rather than face-to-face people, and we will be alone, and we will not trust other people under any circumstance if fear is what ultimately rules us. And no, I reject that wholesale. I absolutely reject that. If because of the coronavirus we have ways of interacting on social media that we didn't do before, hey, we can roll with that. If we become more hygienic as a people and we touch each other less as strangers, I think we can live with all of that and be better people for it, That's not my issue. My issue is there is real, lasting value in real human interaction. And if we throw that away in favor of the safety of isolation, I just don't think that's a winning deal. I think that is a bad deal across the board. So we will get through this. We'll have to deal with a little more internet dependence for a while, but when this is all over, I truly, truly hope that we all have the wisdom not to use this as an excuse to depend more on the internet, because remember, it's addicting, but rather it helps us remind ourselves just how valuable human contact really is. Again, assuming it's safe, hygienic, and welcome. All of that is for a given, I would hope. So that's my priestly rant for the day. Thank you for letting me get that out of my system. I refuse to get on that bandwagon that's driven by fear. I refuse to do that. The good thing was at Mass on Sunday. So Masses are not able to be celebrated publicly. So I've been alone for all of these Masses, but I still have to say them. That is part of my priestly duty. So even if I'm alone right here at my dining room table, I was in the mood for a less distracting background, so I'm in my dining room, my living room near my dining room table. When you have a small apartment, your living room is your dining room, so whatever. Anyway, I celebrated 3 Masses, 1 on Saturday night and 2 on Sunday morning. And the Saturday night Mass was normal. I felt the normal feelings I feel at Mass. 9:30 was a little bit different, but 8 o'clock Mass. 8 o'clock Mass at St. Matthew's in Neosho, this tiny little church. I just got this huge blast of what's sometimes called spiritual consolation, which I rarely experience anymore at Mass because I'm working. So spiritual consolation is kind of the umbrella term for when God kind of pokes you in a good way, like, hey, good job, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So people feel this sense of euphoria, that they are loved, that their prayers are heard. I think it's a little different from person to person. Patterns are there, but every person's different. And for me, I get this swelling electrical feeling. I get the goosebumps and all of that. Like when God is near me in a very concrete, direct way, it's really similar to when I hear really great music. It tends to be the same feeling for me. And before I became a priest, I got that feeling almost every time I went to Mass. And when I became a priest, I received it less because I'm working. I don't want to use the word performing, but I'm leading other people in prayer, which means I have less of my own attention to give to the mystery of faith that's happening right in front of me. And as I've talked about that with spiritual directors and my priests, I've been told that that's kind of the sacrifice of being a priest. Because I'm the one at the altar, I'm sacrificing my ability to just be there with Jesus and pray because I am leading others to have that effect. And I've kind of come accustomed to that because I very rarely go to Mass with some other priest. Most of the time it's me celebrating Mass. Well, anyway, on the Sunday Mass at 8 o'clock, it's just me in this small-ish church. And during the Eucharist, I really just got that huge, overwhelming feeling that God was right there with me at the altar, which indeed he was. And I was so thankful for it. This little reminder that, well, this isn't how we want things to be, just a priest in an empty church. But the Mass was real. It's every bit as real as any other time I've celebrated it. And even though I was in an empty church, I really felt that loving sensation that God was blessing my labor and reminding me that there is good work to be done and there is suffering to alleviate in others. And when I was done with my responsibilities and I was driving home, I mean, call it a theory, but I think I was able to enjoy Mass so much because I was alone in the church. I didn't have anyone else to worry about. I didn't have anyone to teach or instruct or lead in prayer. It was just me and Christ upon the altar. And I think that gave me a unique ability to concentrate in a way that I can't always do on Sunday, in Sunday liturgies. So I really wanted to share that while it's still fresh in my head, about a day and a half old in terms of my memory. But that was just the highlight of my Sunday. And the paradox of it all is it was an amazing feeling and amazing experience, and I would have loved to share it with anybody. But it was the mere fact that I wasn't sharing the experience that made it so meaningful in the first place. But hey, God is not afraid of a paradox or two here and there. So there you go. That's my my priestly take on current events as I read them on my news feed. And just a little reminder that what we do in church sacramentally has immense value. And even when we can't be together, that grace of Christ on the altar is still every bit as present as ever. And I was very starkly reminded of that. And I wish to share that reassurance that I received with you. It's secondhand. I know it's not nearly as powerful, but it's the truth. And as a priest, it's my job to stand up for the truth. God bless you all. Stay safe and remain healthy. Thanks.